Alright, I'm scanning the codes on this Outback, and it says right here, random multiple cylinder misfire detected. That's probably because the oil on the valve covers is leaking oil on several spark plugs. As I found 2 ignition coils covered in oil, so yeah, it's probably like random misfire caused by oil causing that. And then it says right here, cylinder 2 misfire detected. It's probably a fouled out plug because the plugs haven't been changed. It's got 116,000 miles on it and they haven't been changed at all. It's supposed to be changed at 60,000. Alright, to remove this battery, all you really need is a 10mm deep socket like this one right here. And like that. And to get this positive thing off, you just grab it right here and pull real hard, it'll pop loose. Alright, so anyways, the batteries terminals are 10mm and these tie downs are 10mm. So undo all that, pull the battery out. Remove this plastic battery tray thing. Once that piece of plastic's removed from your battery tray, you'll see these are all 14mm bolts, but every one of these have to come out of here. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 2 on the side there, it's 5, 6 of them. So all 6 of them have to come out and get this whole thing out of there so you can get to that valve cover. Yeah, these bottom bolts are a lot easier to get undone if you turn it from underneath the car. They're easy to break loose from under the car. But yeah, I got this unbolted, this battery tray support thing. See, got all 6 bolts unbolted, so I'll pull that out of there now. You basically have one here, and then you have one right back here, right down there, and then right here. Those have to be removed to get this off. Alright, the bolts that hold this thing on are just 10mm. Okay, and I already got them removed, so this thing is just going to slide out, and after it slides out, I'm going to remove this wiring connector here. It just slides right off, because he's got these clips right here at the top right here that you gotta unslide, slide out of the plastic groove. But next thing is, alright, I removed the ignition coils. Is this 10mm bolts that holds them on, these bolts down here, right there. So that'll, what you want to do is pull the one in the front out first and remove that one first. There you go, it's out of the car. Okay. So I gotta disconnect it right here from the harness next. Now to remove that rear ignition coil, I had to undo the wiring harness from it first. And after I undid the wiring harness on it, I was able to rotate it and turn the back of it upwards or this direction. And anyways, I was able to bend it and get it out of there. But yeah, you have to undo the harness first. I got both coils off. This is the coil that was in the rear. It's covered in oil. This is the coil that was in the front, number 2, covered in oil. Number 4 looks like it was even worse, but it wasn't throwing a code. But anyways, I'm gonna clean these with engine cleaner, get all the oil off of them. I'm gonna clean up the valve cover after I take it off. But whenever I reinstall these, I'm gonna swap them. So this was 4 and this was 2. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swap the coils whenever I install them. That way, after I install all of this, if it throws another code, like if it throws a 304, then that'll basically tell me that the coil itself is bad. Because see, I got a 302 code. Okay, so I don't know if it's the coil or if it's the spark plug, right? So I'm gonna swap these coils when I reinstall them, since they're the old coils. And then, like I said, if it throws me a 304 code, then I know that it's actually the coil. And if one coil's bad, then I'm just gonna replace all 4 of them. So this valve cover is supposed to have 8 10mm bolts on it. There's 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and basically 3 on the sides. So this one right here that I'm pointing at, I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but that one right there, that's the middle one. And then here's one right here, and there's one over there. So anyways, there's 8 of them. 3 on all sides. Alright, this is what you need to pull spark plugs. A 14mm deep socket. And then I have these right here. These are magnetic spark plug sockets, but they're actually probably about 17mm or something like that. But they work on my Nissans. This one says 5/8-16mm. 5/8, yeah. So anyways, those are too big. But you need 14mm deep socket. It'll work. It'll go around the plugs. And you got to have one of these swivel extensions to get in there to get it. Alright, the service manual actually asks for these plugs right here. It says to use these right here, the SILZKAR 7B11 NGK plugs, and that is the stock model number, the 93482. And this is for the 2.5 liter Subaru Outback natural aspired engine, non-turbo, 170 horsepower engine. And these are supposed to be changed every 60,000 miles according to the service manual's maintenance schedule. Alright, I got my valve cover gasket off here. And they used a lot of silicone. I'm gonna have to take a razor blade and go back and just clean all the silicone off this valve cover. There's a bunch of it right here on the edge and the side and everything. And clean all the old stuff off so the new stuff sticks, you know. There's the valve cover removed. It's easier to remove the spark plugs after the valve cover is removed, but you know, this car has 116,000 miles on it. The valve cover gasket's never been changed, and the spark plugs have never been changed. So should run like a champ after this. Alright, I got these Fill Pro gaskets, and they came with 2 sets of spark plug tube gaskets, but this one right here, it fits, and everything looks pretty good as far as the gasket goes. Here's 2 of the old plugs. The new plugs, I put anti-seize on the threads, and that helped a lot. Screwing it back in made it a whole lot easier to screw them in. I was able to screw them all the way in by hand. Actually, I could screw them all the way down by hand and then just tighten them with a wrench. I got my plugs installed. All I got to do is torque them down and then install the valve cover gasket. I already cleaned the valve cover gasket up and everything, and yeah, and I got black RTV silicone sealant. Yeah, you can use gray gasket maker if you want, but I got this black RTV silicone sealant. It says it's for oil pans and stuff. Shows it on the front cover and everything, so it works. Let me show y'all what tools I'm using here. Now, I got 2 different torque wrenches. I used this big one right here. That's actually used for like wheels, but I use that to take the stuff off. This one right here, I was using it just to check the torque. And I only use that torque wrench to check it at like around 5 foot-pounds. But basically, if you can't get any torque on your torque wrench, that means that you can keep turning the bolt and keep tightening it. So I take this 1/2-inch ratchet right here, and I tighten the spark plugs with that. And I tighten it with that until they don't turn anymore. And I do it real slow, you know. I'm not trying to like break it or anything. But whenever you feel it get snug and tight and it doesn't want to turn anymore with that 1/2-inch ratchet, then that means the plug's bottomed out and it's torqued all the way down and you're freaking done. You do not have to use these right here to torque your spark plugs down to 10 or 13 foot-pounds or whatever it's supposed to be. Now, all you got to do is use one of these 1/2-inch ratchets and just turn it until the plug stops turning. And whenever you feel it stop turning, don't jerk on it with that sucker or you'll break something. Yeah, just stop whenever you feel it, you know, bottom out with the 1/2 inch, and then you're done. And you can do that with all cars. Now on this, I got my plugs torqued all the way down, and I got these plug seal tube seals already installed, the new ones, the Felpros, and I left all this silicone stuff on here because it was going to be too hard to take a razor blade and clean all that stuff off. And that's what really needs to be done. Really need to clean all the silicone off. But you know, I'm just going to leave it on there, put new silicone on it, and screw it down and hope for the best, because I'm really wanting to get rid of this car, really. But plugs are changed, they're tight, and cylinder 2, that was it, had misfire, so this new plug might fix it. If this doesn't fix it, then it has to be the ignition coil. Alright, I got the valve cover on with the new valve cover gaskets. Now whenever you tighten these bolts for the valve cover, just look at the gappage in between the engine block and the valve cover, and just watch it whenever you're tightening it, and make sure, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be super freaking tight, but you know, you want the gappage to be as close as possible, basically, without over tightening it, if that makes any sense. Alright, now it's time to put this coil on. Now this little thing right here, if you look all the way down, there's a spring in there, so the tip of this will actually bend. But yeah, I'll fix it, put these on. Now what you want to do is put the one on the back on first, and connect the wiring harness to it first, and then put the one on the front towards the front of the engine on second, or last, or whatever. Alright, the ignition coils are installed. Whenever you put these clips on, just look at the other side and see how they go on, so you remember how they go on. And then these bolts down here that hold the ignition coils on, whenever you tighten those, I just screwed them down by hand and then just got them snug. They don't need to be real tight because they go into plastic. And then whenever you tighten the bracket, this bracket down, the bolts on it, same thing, just get them snug. Don't try to tighten them all the way down. I mean, don't try to get them real tight or anything like that. Just get them barely snug, because that's just a mounting bracket. But yeah. Alright, now that the coils are installed, the next thing for me to install is the battery tray. And then it just has, I believe, 6 bolts. There's these big bolts here, here. There's 3, 4, and then 2 on the side, 6. Then after that goes in, you know, the battery goes in. I'm pretty much done. And all these bolts right here, the 6 bolts that hold the battery tray in, they're 14 millimeters. Now, to get to the ones on the side, you got to use one of these to get to the ones down here on the side, down there. And it's easier to go underneath the car. Yeah, you just get in there and in there with this. These are the last bolts I got to tighten. Alright, battery's all installed and everything. So that's it. Now I'm going to do the other side, but it's pretty much the same way.